first tornado of the year in Pennsylvania was reported in Mercer County on Sunday, and every county of the state was in a tornado watch at some point that day. Signs that if there is such a thing as severe weather season in Pennsylvania, we're heading into the heart of it. Now, when you think about severe thunderstorms, spring comes to mind as the peak time, and that's certainly true in much of the plains. For example, let's look at tornadoes in Oklahoma. Here's the average number for each month over the last 30 years. And there's an obvious peak in the month of May, with April a distant second. And notice the big drop-off once you get into June and especially July and August. Now let's compare that to tornadoes in Pennsylvania. Of course, the numbers are much smaller, no surprise there, but the important point is that the peak occurs later in the year in July, followed by June and then May. Let's take a closer look at tornadoes in Pennsylvania. Here's the number per year going back to 1980. Before then, our ability to detect them wasn't as good, so those numbers would tend to be too low. There have been 453 confirmed tornadoes over this 30-year period, an average of about 15 per year. But there's so much variability from year to year that the average is a bit misleading. The most was 59 in 1998. The fewest was 4 way back in 1982. And the last few years have been relatively quiet compared to average. Now, most tornadoes are relatively weak. That's the case everywhere, not just here. Until 2007, the Fujita or F scale was used to rank tornadoes. Since then, it's been updated and is now called the Enhanced Fujita scale, or EF scale. In both cases, the weakest tornadoes are rated 0. The strongest get a rating of 5. And here's the breakdown of all tornadoes in Pennsylvania since 1980 on this scale. And about 80% of the total are rated 0 or 1. Those tornadoes cause minor to moderate damage with winds as high as about 110 miles per hour. Ratings of 2 and 3 correspond to considerable or severe damage. They make up almost 20% of the total. And what's left are the violent tornadoes, rated 4 or 5. They produce extreme damage to total destruction, and fortunately make up only about 1% of all tornadoes. And there have only been 9 such violent tornadoes in Pennsylvania in the last 30 years, and 7 of those 9 occurred on the same day, almost exactly 25 years ago. On May 31st, 1985, a total of 21 tornadoes hit the state, causing 65 fatalities, more than 500 injuries, and over $300 million in damage, with northwestern Pennsylvania, especially Mercer, Erie, Crawford, Venango, Warren, Beaver, and Butler counties the hardest hit. An F5 tornado that formed in Ohio and crossed into Mercer County that evening is still believed to be the strongest tornado on record in Pennsylvania. In the 25 years since that fateful day, there have only been 1 violent tornado in the state, an F4 on June 2nd, 1998 in Somerset County. One issue that I didn't address today is how those 453 tornadoes tend to be distributed across Pennsylvania. I'll save that for later WxYz. Paul Knight is back with the extended forecast next.